All right, Annie Dickerson, co-founder and COO of GoodEgg Investments. Thank you so much for doing this quick video.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't be more thrilled to share our success in working together, Josh.
We're going to get to that in just a second. Before we do, I'd love to maybe have you share a little bit about who GoodEgg is and the work that you do and like who you work with and because folks watching this, they're in business for themselves. Everybody's like, how do I get more conversations with great people? But by way of background into that, if you could explain who GoodEgg is, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. So at GoodEgg Investments, we focus on helping people who want to invest in real estate, but don't want to be landlords. So people who have money to invest, but they want to sit back and focus on the rest of their life. So we help them invest in something called real estate syndications, which is basically like crowdfunding for real estate. So everybody puts in a little bit and we buy an apartment building together. And so we do all the work and our investors get to sit back and collect all the passive income. Now, with GoodEgg, so that's our core business, but we also have our coaching program because we have so many people who have come to us and they've seen our success through GoodEgg Investments, and they want to do it too. And so we created this coaching and mentorship program called the Real Estate Accelerator, where we teach people exactly what we do. It's almost like a business in a box. We take everything that we created that's working in GoodEgg Investments, we white label it, and we give it to our coaching members so that they can run their businesses on the same system. And so that's really the program that we worked with your team to promote.
Yeah. And I have to say too, before we continue, one of our biggest things that we love culture fit. Culture fit for us is just number one. If we're going to do a partnership with somebody, we need to know that there's great alignment in principles and values. And that's the thing that I was so enamored with as you and I got to learn about each other's businesses. GoodEgg is one of the good eggs out there in investing. And I just, your audience loves you, great authority going in. We were just so happy to get connected with you. And so by the way, your website, go ahead and share that as well.
Yes, our website is goodegginvestments.com. There's tons of resources there, whether you're a passive investor looking to learn more about the real estate space, or you're thinking about starting your own real estate business.
So Annie, in terms of like who makes a great investor or client with you, I would imagine you've gotten some really great word of mouth, from people that already have a relationship with you. But, when it comes to marketing, I guess what else do you do to kind of grow your business, maybe before UpMyInfluence?
Yeah. So let's see. So a big part of getting new investor leads has been being featured on other people's podcasts. So it's a great way for us to fish in other people's ponds. Yeah. And it's been a great way for us to get new investor leads. So I would say podcasts and referrals have been our top source of new investors.
We hear that a lot. In fact, yep. Very, very common among, folks that we work with is, they're not afraid to share their story in front of other audiences, but yeah, word of mouth usually comes because they do great work. And so as we began, Annie, I don't know, maybe from your perspective, maybe if you could share kind of your experience in, kind of build out and that sort of thing.
Well, let me say first that what really interested me about your program, because we've been approached by a lot of different consultants and freelancers, and they're like, we can help you grow your mentorship program, right? They're like, we could do it. We could get you these leads. We could do these paid ads. We can do this marketing for you. And every time it's like, okay, but how do we really know if it's going to work? With what you were offering, it was a really unique proposal because here I have been, we've been trying to get on other people's podcasts for years, right? It's a big deal because you gotta pitch them, you gotta create those relationships. Then you gotta, say, hey, would you want me on your podcast? Here's the value I can provide. So it's a lot. And we know how valuable it is to be featured on those podcasts because as I just mentioned, that's a big source of new investor leads for us. So we knew that our target audience for the Real Estate Accelerator, they're out there looking to be on podcasts too. And how cool is it that we would be able to offer them that value? And so I had gone through your whole experience to be on the Thoughtful Entrepreneur. So I already knew the quality of the whole funnel and all the videos and the whole experience. It was almost like a white glove, like red carpet type experience. Where I was getting to know you before I had ever hopped on a call with you. And I was looking forward to this interview. And I was like, so when you proposed that we launch this podcast to sort of provide value to our potential coaching members for the Real Estate Accelerator, I thought this is perfect because I had just gone through this and I want our potential coaching members to go through the same exact experience because whether or not they're a good fit for our program, they're going to get a ton of value out of that experience. They're going to be able to promote their business on the podcast and we'll be able to create that relationship and that goodwill with them.
Yeah. And I love this. I think about, what is it that I respond to? Like, and do I respond to spammy DMs and email? No, of course I don't. I don't read white papers. I probably don't, I don't, the rank and file stuff. I appreciate that, but I just don't have time for it. And so to get the attention of a higher qualified, audience, it's leading with noble intent, leading with great value, being willing to invest more resources into a smaller, more exclusive subset, that audience is just such a great way to build trust and then ultimately business, which then that brings me to the next question in terms of the podcast has been operating and what have you experienced from that?
Yeah, so we've certainly started to build some momentum. The podcast, I think we've been recording episodes for a few months now, and it just launched about a month ago now. And it's been phenomenal because we don't have to do any work. That's the best part, right? We don't have to do the work of finding the potential guests. I see all the messages going out on LinkedIn, but I don't have to respond to any of them. We also have a professional podcast host who's fantastic. And they do all the questions and they treat our guests really well because by the time that the guests then hop on a call with me, first of all, they already know me through all the videos that we've created through that funnel that they've been through. And they've had such a great experience with our podcast host. So then by the time they hop on a call with me, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm ready for anything. I'll take whatever you got because they've been treated so well. They've gotten so much value. So it's the perfect setup.
And do you mind sharing maybe a little bit about the results?
Yeah, absolutely. So we haven't gotten a ton of calls scheduled with guests, which is great. Because let me tell you why that's great, because my calendar doesn't fill up with 40 unqualified people a week. We get just the cream of the crop, and your team does a fantastic job of really whittling it down to just the most qualified leads. And so those are the people who get on my calendar. So it's not that many. We do have a higher level program and we have a very niche audience. So I appreciate that a lot of those leads are sort of whittled out earlier in the process. So I was just looking at this in the month of February, because we were just looking at our data. In the month of February, I think I had 5 calls from podcast guests, and 2 of those, so 40% of those, actually decided to sign up for our program. And then one of them signed up for the upper level, we call it our Diamond Done For You package. Yeah. It's a $25K program. And the other was at a $10K price point. But that's just, I will take A 40% conversion all day long. 5 calls and close 2. Yes, please.
And that's kind of the idea, just again, CEO to CEO or founder to founder. I mean, you want to be protective. We want to protect the CEO, the founder's time, the growth director's time. We want to make sure that we're doing as much nurturing as we can on the front end so they show up and they're leaning forward. And what I love, I don't know if you've experienced this, when you get on a call with someone, you kind of pop on Zoom together and they kind of like, there's this recognition that they have because they've already been watching all your videos. So our goal is that they show up leaning forward saying, thank you guys so much for having me and tell me more about how you work, right? That's kind of like the perfect situation for me.
Exactly. Every time I hop on one of those calls, everybody's so excited to see me. They're so grateful that I took the time to chat with them. And they're so open-minded to whatever we're going to talk about and potential collaborations together. And I always just leave it open. I'm not trying to sell them. I'm just building a relationship with them. And so I approach it as, hey, I hope you had a great experience on the podcast. And usually they gush about that part. And then I say, I'd love to hear more about you and your goals. And I'll share more about us and what we're up to. And let's just see if there's an opportunity to work together.
Perfect.
And usually whether they sign up for our program or not, it usually turns into a great foundation for a great relationship.
I love it. Textbook, Annie. You did that absolutely perfect. That's how it's done. Now, just one final thing, and you already illustrated this, right? But contrast that. And as business owners, we try lots of things in marketing. And I could tell you one of the most miserable things is talking with people and they feel like I'm just going to sell them. I just compare, if you kind of contrast your experience with this system versus like if you're just throwing out like Facebook ads or whatever, and then you get on this sales call or whatever, that's in my opinion.
Yeah. About a year ago, we were talking about a funnel like that, sort of the perfect webinar funnel where you put the Facebook ads up and then every week you go on this live webinar and you give some value. Yes. But then you spend time pitching the product. And I've done it, but I hate it. Every time you get to the pitch, I'm not a pitch person. And even though I was reading the script and I had practiced it a lot, I cringe every time I think about it because it's not who I am. And I think you and I are very similar in that regard. We love providing value to people. And so that's why this model works so much better for us.
Awesome. Annie Dickerson, thank you so much. GoodEggInvestments.com. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And I appreciate that because I know there are a lot of people that maybe they've chatted with me or someone on my team. They saw my videos and like, oh, that sounds good, but I don't know. Does it really work? And so thank you for your sharing your experience with that.
Yes, absolutely. For anybody watching or listening to this who's on the fence, you better jump on it because the opportunity to work with Josh and his team will change your business.